Hi, my name is Becky Borello, and I am the Director of Instructional Technology, Training, and Teaching Development at Chatham University. I'm here today to talk to you about our experience in transitioning to the new content experience in Brightspace. Things that you can take away from my presentation today. We developed a communication strategy, so how we sequenced messaging to faculty and to students. You can also look at our training schedule. We trained over the fall semester in preparation for a full rollout in spring. So we ran a bi-monthly cadence of workshops for faculty and also offered several one-to-one support slots as needed. We implemented a change management strategy, which for this particular project worked really, really well. There, we were able to allow faculty members to opt in. We were able to allow students to see it before it was fully live. We really built a phased rollout that met everybody where they were. The students were not surprised, the faculty were prepared, and I'm going to share all of the resources. Please feel free to use them. We all are overworked these days, so we're going to work smarter, not harder. So please feel free to borrow whatever you want from the resources that I'm going to share at the end. And finally, what I'm talking about, the replicable framework. So you can adapt what we did to your institution and utilize it as you see fit. So, some of the challenges that we experience, which I think are pretty ubiquitous across all institutions, is that faculty are reluctant to make changes. They're reluctant to make changes um, basically at any time because it really disrupts their flow, right? So, we wanted to make sure that we were implementing and forcing the change at the beginning of a semester so that it would be fresh. But Brightspace does an amazing thing when they offer the opt-in feature. So you could toggle the new content experience on and off in each course. So faculty could go into their spring courses. So let's say it's October. We already have the spring courses loaded for starting in January. They could go to their spring course in January and toggle on the new content experience and see what it was like. We also had several toggled on during the fall semester so that they themselves could work in it and their students could see it. Um, we wanted to make sure students were not unprepared. So we wanted to make sure they were ready. We wanted to reduce any risk of disruption or frustration. And we knew that we needed a campus-wide adoption plan and not just to have our always eager faculty be the ones leading. So we developed a phased rollout. We started in August. So this is just the perfect time that you can start your phased rollout too if you want. We announced in August that we would be transitioning to the new content experience in the spring semester. We let both faculty and students know via email. They were separate emails, and we laid out the plan in that email as to what was going to happen. In September, we had like a kickoff workshop and we demonstrated how they could opt in. Then in October, we really pushed for the pilot phase. We encouraged everybody to at least turn on the new content experience in their spring courses so they could see what it was going to look like. And we also encouraged them to turn it on in some of their fall courses so that their students and they could experience what was coming. And then in November, we really made a big push. So we announced that it was going to be retired. I mean, they already knew that, but we re-announced it. And we created a migration checklist so that as they were importing their fall courses into the spring semester, they could make sure that all of their content was coming through and that they felt comfortable with what they were seeing. And then finally, in December, we made our final push. We actually pushed the go live at the end of the fall semester so that as faculty or students were working on things over break, that it was already in the format that was going to be officially forced in January. And so when the courses started in January for the spring semester, all courses were in the new content experience. We had like a faculty kind of boot camp that was honestly not really needed at that point. It was great. They were prepared. And we also had workshops for students at that point, but they also were pretty prepared. Um, and so then we also had drop-in sessions where we just had like open office hours via Zoom, and people came to those if they had any specific questions, both faculty and students. So our communication strategy was pretty straightforward. Once again, in the resources I'm going to share at the end, I have the drafts of all of these messages that you're welcome to borrow. We emailed the faculty about once a month in preparation for the change. Anything more than that gets ignored. Anything less than that felt like it could be missed. So we tried to get them once a month. Also tried to email the students about as frequently so that they were prepared as well. I will say one of the things that we did for our students is we have a Brightspace for Students course that every single student is enrolled in. And so that course we flipped to the new content experience in September so that even if the students didn't have a faculty member that was piloting the new content experience, they could see what it was going to be like and how it was going to work for them in the spring semester. So our training and workshop schedule was pretty straightforward. We did 11 workshops, 3 student workshops. We kept them short, 30 minutes at most. And then we also offered one-on-one support. I will tell you, these workshops were well attended, which was kind of surprising because they were not an immediate threat, right? So the workshops were well attended and we recorded everything. So once again, in that resources that I'm sharing at the end, you can go through and watch the recording. Um, one of the things that we did is we did frame the transition as we should do it now when we have the opportunity to control when and how we transition versus whenever D2L was going to say, nope, this is the end. Everybody has to transition right now. So we really framed it as us being proactive. And also, we really wanted to highlight that this transition to the new content experience is for the students. The new content experience has that new navigation arrow that makes scrolling through content in a course super simple and easy on a mobile device. And most of our students are accessing their courses on a mobile device, at least partially, if not fully. So it was really important that we focused on that this transition is for the students. It's a more modern approach to looking at courses. It's more accessible. And it's just the future of where Brightspace is going. So we should be proactive and get there. So what made it work? The opt-in option was huge. It allowed the faculty to voluntarily experiment. It allowed them to transition their spring courses and see what was going on, as well as work directly in it in their fall courses. We were also able to spotlight early adopters, excuse me. And so they did adapt, they adopted. So anyways, they were able to share work or their experience with their colleagues and with their students. We set clear milestones. So the 19th was go live. January, that's it. There's no going back. We made sure that we included students in this process so that they were not surprised in January. We created a migration checklist to try to make it as smooth as possible. And we also layered the support. We combined our workshops, our guides, the one-to-one support, as well as the pre-made D2L support and workshops that they ran. So it really was a deliberate transition and it felt good. I felt like the students and the faculty were prepared. So nothing is perfectly smooth. So I want to share some known caveats about the new content experience so that you can be prepared whenever you are doing your workshops and helping your faculty transition. Number one, add existing versus create new. When you turn editing on, every single faculty member, whenever they went to add a file, a Word document, PowerPoint, Excel spreadsheet, went to create new in Brightspace under the new content experience. And that's not where you do it. To add a file, you click add existing. So it's an existing file on your computer and you click add existing, not create new. So we had a lot of hiccups there. One of the other things is that they wanted to do drag and drop, right? They were used to dragging and dropping files directly into the course. You can no longer drag and drop files directly into the main course area. You can still drag and drop files into the table of contents along the left side of your course. But in order to do that, you need to have the enhanced TOC enabled in your Brightspace instance. So that was important to know. Number three, they were not used to turning editing on. Editing was always on by default in the old content experience. So now it is a deliberate mouse click to turn editing on. It's not a big deal. I actually think it's a cleaner experience for faculty that are trying to view their course. Um, but it is something to note. And then one of the biggest issues that we ran into is that whenever you add links to the course, they are by default set to open in an external window. One of the reasons why we are transitioning to the new content experience is so that students can quickly and easily navigate through a course on a mobile device. Unfortunately, whenever you click on a link, it opens it in a separate browser window. So it takes them out of the LMS. Our faculty don't necessarily love that. They want things to open embedded within Brightspace. So some of them went through and changed that. Unfortunately, it is not configurable. And then we also ran into a problem that if it was embedded, not every browser let the website appear within Brightspace. So opening them in an external window is the right answer, but it does take the student out of the LMS. So it's just one thing to make note of. Opening a link in an external window is the best answer, but it does cause a little bit of extra clicking back and forth. So just a little caveat to make yourself aware of. You are welcome to replicate our framework. So we announced early, we had the opt-in option, we sequenced training as logically as we could, we communicated as clearly as we could, and then we made sure that we were able to support them and be available to them as needed. Like I said, here are the resources. You are welcome to utilize anything you find on this website. So the top link is to our support hub. So this is the overall page link. Below is a direct link to our faculty email archives, as well as our workshop recordings, and then the migration checklist that we created. Also, if you have any questions or want to just talk about our experience more, please feel free to contact me and my team. So our email address is oi3td at chatham.edu for the Office of Instructional Technology, Training, and Teaching Development. So if you have any questions or want to talk further, please feel free to reach out. But I really recommend the phased transition, utilizing the fall semester because many of those students come back for the spring semester. So they were well prepared. And I think that we had a really smooth transition. So if you'd like to utilize our plan, please feel free. Have a wonderful day.